Tech Type Podcast, Episode 8. My name is Simeon.
Hey, it's Ben.
I'm Dale.
So we've got a bit of a special guest on this week. We've got Johnathan. He's a mate from uni. How are you, Jono?
Yeah, good, Simeon. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. So tell us a bit about yourself, Jono.
Oh, yeah, building computers since about 2015. Built a couple here and there, and pretty into tech since then.
Yeah, right.
Did computer science when I was at uni,
Yeah, cool. So you say you've been building PCs. Are these like desktop? What kind of PCs you been building?
Yeah, so just tower desktop PCs, normally for just gaming and stuff.
Yeah, right. So gaming builds.
Yeah. So something
nice.
mid-range you can play most titles on.
Yeah, cool. So is it hard? I think all of us have sort of had a go at PC building. Is it, there's a bit of that sort of, it's really difficult to do. Is it, what's that about? Is it really hard or easy? What do you think?
Well, I don't think it's that hard at all, to be honest. But it's just a lot of conflicting information you can deal with.
Yeah.
I feel like it's something that people just get intimidated by,
Yeah.
And it's just, it's so convenient. You can just buy a computer. You can just buy an all-in-one Dell. Why would you want to build your computer?
I mean, to be fair, for some of the stuff that people use them for, they're great little things, but you just can't play games. You can't really process anything, like any type of compressing.
So I feel like people get really daunted by it as well because they see it as like, oh, you're building a computer. What? Like, how does that happen? Like, people are so used to going out and just buying them pre-built. When in fact, it's actually not that hard. Like, it's almost like a puzzle almost, just putting all the pieces together in the right order.
Yeah.
Delicate Lego set.
Yeah, very expensive Lego set.
Well, it is. It's almost like just building Lego.
Yeah, although in some Lego sets become pretty expensive, so maybe it's not expensive.
Yeah.
I didn't
sets
say
are
the
more
computers
expensive
weren't
than this.
expensive.
So, I guess, what are your builds for? Like, are we all gamers? Are we building them for different things? I mean, my old build that I had was more for editing, so doing some photo and video editing. But what are your expenses, Ben or Dale, or what are your builds for?
Look, I'm a self-described gamer.
Yeah.
But that's I guess, definitely mid-low range when I built my computer. At least originally. I guess, I'm not sure how much. I feel like GPU costs have definitely spiked a bit recently. Those have inflated. But I remember, back, maybe 7 years ago, spent about $2,000 on a computer. That got me through about half a decade of being able to play pretty much anything I wanted.
Yeah, that's about how it is, isn't it?
Yeah, you can get some pretty good
Shelf life.
performance out of stuff.
Yeah, you end up being able to use it for as long as people say consoles go for. Like, how long has a PS4 and Xbox One been out? Like, almost as
6 years?
God.
5?
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's how long I've had my computer.
And so when you guys build, is it completely new builds each time, or are you boys upgrading parts and swapping them out, or how do you guys sort of keep your PC?
Well, the first time I did it, it was brand new because I figured, I can't really get parts around my area.
Yeah,
Go brand new first time, and then, if I want to upgrade in the future, I can. And I suppose since I went for the same as Dale, a mid-low range build when I first went to it, because, I was young, I didn't have a lot of money. But as it always is. But yeah, and then I've just upgraded along the way. Like, I think the problem is I wanted to look at buying pre-owned parts, but there's just not a lot around.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if everyone's had the same experience.
Especially these days.
Yeah, like maybe I'm looking at the wrong time. Maybe I need to look at around when another launch comes out and everyone's starting to upgrade. But
So I built my computer what was it now, Simeon? 4 years ago, 3?
Yeah, three and a half.
And the only new part I have in my computer is my GPU, my 1060. Everything else is secondhand. So I bought pretty much my computer as is. And then I bought a secondhand custom water loop. I bought a secondhand case.
And that's for cooling your
upgrade.
CPU, your water loop.
Sorry?
That's for cooling your CPU, your water loop?
So that's, for cooling my CPU. And I bought my monitors new, so that's the only other thing. But, I just scour Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace and Gumtree is where I get most of my parts from.
And have you noticed that they're particularly worn or damaged or anything? Or
Yeah.
You do get... You can kind of tell once you've kind of been on a lot of those platforms for a while, you can kind of tell who's a bit sus and who's not. I personally haven't had any bad experiences, and I know a lot of mates haven't, but I do know a few people that have.
Yeah.
It's one of the risks you take.
Yeah, because I can imagine it'd be really poor if you get it by part and it doesn't work.
Yeah. So, for example, my case retails for about 500. And I got it for 150.
Oh wow, that's very good discount.
Yeah, so there's some really good deals to get out there if you can snatch them up quick. It is still a risk.
They're not just sitting there on the shelf, though, I guess, waiting for you.
I found that around my area, people are trying to sell stuff from when I built my computer. 5-year-old tech. The stuff that you can almost pay for new product.
Yeah, right.
It's you got to think whether it's worth saving a bit of money here and getting it now, or getting a not as good product, or spending a bit more money up to date. Maybe it will last the decade that you want.
Yeah, but you're forking out a bit more.
You are forking out the extra.
The general rule I've kind of heard again and again with building and even buying computers pre-built is you try and buy the best computer you can at the time for the budget that you have.
Yeah, the best you can afford, yeah.
Because if you buy top tier stuff, at most it'll maybe last you a year. And that if you get a year out of it at top tier, that's pretty good.
Yeah, do you mean like before the new one comes out?
Before the next iteration comes out, it's pretty much like
it's always going to be a constant upgrade.
Yeah, you can. You can always wait, but
there's always something new coming out, though. There's always 100%. Something new coming out. You can't. You got to buy whatever's current.
And anytime anytime I go to look, there's so much more stuff there. Like I completely missed a graphics card launch apparently.
Yeah. I mean, the company.
Like there's the 1600 series that came out.
Yeah, for the graphics cards for AMD.
Yeah, and did
you guys see the new? Sorry, that was for NVIDIA. Did you guys see the new AMD CPU that just came out though?
It looks really good. The new Threadripper, was it?
Yeah, the new, it's like ridiculous 56 core, 128 threads.
64
cores, there you go.
64 cores.
Wow. I mean, to put that in perspective for the listeners, that sort of, my mid-range build was running 8 cores and 16 threads. So, that's a typical CPU.
Orders of magnitude more powerful.
Yeah. I mean, the price as well is magnitude more. But
what was the price? Did you guys get a source for that?
I think
6,500 you were looking at, around 6,500 AUD.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, the
bit expensive.
Consumer costs,
Well, I'll be the first to admit that it's a bit out of my bit out of my price range.
And the processor is worth more than my entire computer.
That processor could buy 4 of my computers.
So are you boys thinking about upgrading anytime soon? So being these sort of half-decade-old systems, or they're running fine, running smooth? What are you thinking?
I'm always in the process of upgrading.
Yeah. Every time I look, Every time I look, I'm like, oh yeah, I could get new RAM. I could just upgrade everything, you know. There's all
that
this
is the
new gear
problem.
out.
It's a nice money pit, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's like, oh, which part don't I need to upgrade? Which part can I keep? Like,
I'll take a different stance. I actually don't think I'll need to upgrade for a little while at least. So I'm running. So at the moment we're at the 10th gen CPUs
From Intel, yeah.
10th gen
They just came
Intel,
out.
yeah.
Intel, yep. So just for perspective, I'm running a 4th gen. So that's a bit of an old CPU. And my
what model is
GPU. Sorry, it's what have I got? A 4690. So like a mid-tier i5.
Mid-range, 4th gen. Okay.
Yeah, with a 6 gig 1060. So again, like a mid-range GPU, 8 gigs of DDR3. So again, mid-range RAM. You see a bit of a trend here. I do some light gaming. I would say there'd be some AAA titles, probably averaging between 40 and 60 frames, which is fine for me for just avid gaming. The rest of it's just all uni work. So for me, sure, I could upgrade and spend the money, but if I'm not utilizing that extra power, then what's the point of spending all this money on new hardware?
Yeah, that's what I question when I'm looking at upgrading, because like I've got the 1070, which is the one just above yours. I've got 16 gigs of DDR4. It's at a low clock speed, so maybe I could do something about that. But like I've got a 46. No, it's 46 or 66. 6600K. Sorry. So that's like a quite a not super recent.
So of the 6th gens, it's sort of the higher end.
Yeah, 6N mid range there. So like that doesn't really let me down, and I've got on a slight overclock as well. Yeah. So my only thing is like I only want to upgrade if I want to like get max frames out of a game.
And so do you think you'll probably do the incremental updates, like buy new RAM and then buy new graphics card?
Yeah, so that's what I might think. Like I think I might grab some new RAM, and like if it doesn't really change much, I might go, oh, where am I bottlenecking? Is it my CPU? Is it my graphics card? Because it is a 1070, so it's not that old. It's not that old of a graphics card. Like it's a couple years, but what have they got? Two, 3 generations
in graphics. Yeah, so I guess the new 20 series came out, and then the sort of 2080, 2070, 2060 sort of each them. So one series, but a few graphics cards above.
Yeah, I could probably wait a while for my graphics card. Like I think I would have got it in 2016 or 17.
Yeah. So you sort of seem like you buy a fair bit on Marketplace, Ben, or definitely on Marketplace and Gumtree. Have you noticed that being sort of up to date with the tech and knowing prices and being sort of quite a techie person, that you've been able to like maybe barter people down or give people some more information on things more than if you weren't?
I think because I've been looking at buying secondhand parts for so long, you kind of get a feel for the market and when it's kind of a bit cheaper and when it's a bit more expensive. Generally, people, depends what you're buying. If you're buying a CPU or a graphics card, a lot of people don't really tend to shift from the price that they've advertised. But other things like cases, motherboards and RAM I've found to be pretty good. People are willing to negotiate.
Yeah. Do you think
at
that's
the moment,
a particular reason for those products, in, like the GPU and CPU? Or
I guess this is the value that's perceived, especially with graphics cards. Because of cryptocurrency mining, there was a massive shortage, and everyone being in isolation with all this juicy government money to spend, I'm sure everyone's out buying. Yeah. But yeah, I guess it's just the customers or the buyers put a greater value on those items, which is fair enough. They are the more expensive.
Yeah, it's fair enough. Parts. You do pay a fair bit of money for them.
Yeah, and the market is quite flooded. So, or at times the market can be quite flooded. So it really depends. For example, at the moment it's pretty sparse out there because everyone's buying and not selling at the moment.
Yeah.
But
everyone's stuck indoors.
I've seen that. Like, I mean, if I have a look on mine, I can find a couple of good parts, even recently, since I've started looking. Like, there's a couple of nice graphics cards you can get for under $300.
Some sort of mid-range.
Yeah, but if you're paying $500 to $800 for the new range graphics cards, it's like...
Really depends on where you are too. So I live in a pretty coastal town in Australia, in New South Wales, and it's really hard to find computer parts locally. Whereas if you live in like Sydney or Canberra, like a national a city or whatever, it's a lot easier. You got a lot more choice.
Yeah.
For me, it'd be like a 2 or 3 hour drive to maybe go see a CPU that may or may not work.
Yeah. Is there a distance that you guys are kind of like, oh, yeah, I'll go that far, but I won't go much further? Or is it kind of like depending on the product?
Depends on the deal.
I definitely say the deal.
Yeah, okay.
I've driven 2.5 hours to go see a Phantom 4 that retails for $1,000 or I got for $500.
Yeah.
That seems pretty nice.
Yeah, I made massive profit off that one. But
yeah.
Probably about 2 hours is my limit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd have to be depending on what you're getting as well, because I would definitely drive 2 hours to get like a significant part. If it was a graphics card, CPU, maybe. Definitely.
I guess I think about it in sort of a wage way, right? Like if I'm saving, $30 per hour on travel, $50 per hour I travel.
Yeah, how much is your time worth going to? Yeah, okay.
And fuel as well, I guess, has got to come into that a bit.
I have so much spare time. It's literally just gives me something to do.
Right now, I'll scrap.
Oh, at least right now, yeah.
For sure.
Yes, there's a graphics card in Sydney. Let's go. Yeah,
let's do it. Let's go, boys. Let's head on up there.
Can we all agree that the most important feature for a computer case is that you need the window?
An RGB. You need
RGB.
Nice,
you need the big window.
The big window, but you've also got to have it visible.
Yeah. Where you place your computer.
I've got a tiny desk and I can't have my computer on it.
Are you guys
in like a little computer on?
So it sounds like you boys are into seeing your computers and showing them off and stuff.
I'll be honest, mine's on the floor.
Yeah, mine's like in like you're not good on the carpet, do you?
Oh no.
This is a podcast, so obviously everyone won't be able to see, but I have my bed, and directly next to me is my massive computer. We know who has priority in my life.
I'm seeing you going for a single bed there, so your computer has a bit more room, Ben.
Yes, exactly.
Nice.
Hey, priorities.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But no, like if I suppose the thing is, if you've got $2,000 piece of equipment there, and you're using it every day, you may as well make it and appreciate it. Make it so everyone can see how glorious it is.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
If people are,
if they're willing to.
Yeah.
Well, I'm interested to see what your opinions of sort of the most important parts of a PC, because I mean, you need obviously all of it to work. I mean, I guess you could get without maybe a case and stuff, but without a motherboard, your CPU won't work, and vice versa. But you were sort of saying before that the GPU and the CPU are the most important part. Why is that? Why do you put more value on those than, say, the fans that cool it or the RGB lighting or whatever?
Well, I suppose some items are for aesthetics. Like you can get away with just a black fan that has a nice RPM. Yeah, and you don't need any RGB lighting. With your CPU, obviously, depending on what you're doing, if you're doing like editing and stuff like that, you'll need quite a nice CPU. Whereas, say, you're just browsing the internet, not so much.
So it's more about what you're hoping to do with your computer.
Yeah. Whereas, like, if you're video editing, from my perspective, I'm not too sure. you may not need a really good graphics card. You may need a graphics card to help, but
yeah, my sort of understanding is with video editing, especially, is that it depends how good quality, but it sort of your GPU is used a bit and your CPU is used a bit and a lot of RAM. And then when you start going to more photo editing, it's less upon your GPU and sort of stuff. But yeah, what about you boys, Dale and stuff? What do you put your value on? Like, where do you put your money and that sort of stuff?
I feel like if you're going to be doing either, anything heavily graphical, right? Like playing games, your video editing, your most expensive thing is going to be your graphics card. Easily. And I think it'll be the thing. Yeah, and I think it'll be the thing you'd upgrade first as well. Between
spend the most money on it, but then you also swap it out first. Okay.
You would, yeah.
Well, I don't know. I might be wrong on this, but in my experience, if you can get a good CPU that has a fair amount of cores, so that would be 8 around now, you get an 8-core processor, that thing can last you easily 5-6 years. A good CPU will last you a long time. Because, most of the time they're pretty overkill. But if you're running a game, especially new games, especially if you want to have, high frame rate, high resolution, the games they're coming, the technology that's being put into games is advancing at a pace where, I don't know, I feel like I need to upgrade my GPU every 2-3 years.
Yeah,
I'm feeling a bit out of date with my GPU.
Yeah, so
my GPU, I'm running a 970 right now.
Yeah.
Which, mind you, warning, don't buy a 970. It's not a good graphics card. They don't do it. It's not good. Get a 980, get a 1070, whatever. But, I think it was maybe 2 years after it came out, I was struggling to run games.
Yeah, wow.
I know. It's rough. Obviously, smaller little things, RAM, don't need to upgrade it that much, really, if you have a significant amount.
Yeah,
I feel like it was only about 5 years ago when, you were silly to get more than 8 gigs of RAM, but standard would be 16 gigabytes.
Yeah, it seems like
now,
standard's about 16 now. Especially
16. If you got 16 gigabytes of RAM, if you got 32 right now, you'd be set for a decade.
Yeah, so I've got 8 at the moment of the previous generation, so DDR3, and it's still fine. Like all my games, it's not the throttling issue. It's more Chrome. Chrome
don't even get
absolutely eats your RAM.
Yeah, we'll watch a video actually by Linus explaining sort of that sort of stuff. It's weird. I have seen the video and I understand why, but it doesn't make any sense. Surely the intention is that much RAM.
It's just Chrome just loves it.
Oh yeah,
it's one of the very few things that Internet Explorer does well.
Yes, yeah, and Safari.
Yeah,
not so much RAM.
The issue for me is I'm still running, or I'd say probably cheaper 1080 screens.
Yeah.
So the benefit for me of upgrading to like a higher end CPU or GPU, okay, sure, I might get more frames and I could theoretically get better and improved graphics, but also have to upgrade to a much more expensive monitor.
Yeah, so if you can't see them through
to reap those benefits, yeah.
Expensive monitors, monitors specifically, are probably the best things I've invested in recently. Getting a high refresh rate monitor, I don't know why I waited so long. It has changed.
1440? Oh, no, 144 was it?
I have a 1440, 144 hertz monitor that I got earlier this year. And it is the best thing I have bought. It was pretty pricey, mind you.
Turn it on to...
Oh, yes. I definitely did turn on them.
It would be so good if you're running that monitor at just 60 frames.
Yeah.
But good thing about monitors is they kind of have a limit too. So once you kind of get the best, you've got a 4K monitor running 144 hertz or whatever, you're kind of starting to reach the limit of what your eye can distinguish. So you'd be set with a monitor. Like if you were to buy a high tier monitor today, you would be pretty set for 6-8 years.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've had my monitors for about 6 years, 7 years.
So do you think there's any point in, like we sort of mentioned this on last week's episode, but do you think there's any point in keeping to upgrade? Like the manufacturers to go to 8K, 144, 8K, 200 and whatever?
A lot of it's just showing off what they can do now.
Yeah, okay.
Like, I reckon, like because God, you can barely see the difference between them. Like you reckon you can, but I don't know.
I think it's good to record in higher definition, but you don't necessarily need to get a monitor. Like the everyday person doesn't need to get
I can't see myself
16K monitor.
I can't see myself ever needing that. Like,
yeah, so
I literally can't distinguish between like from 8K up or whatever. So
I have
literally just a number.
A 2015 iMac, and it has a 5K display, and then next to it I have a 1080p. You can tell the difference between 1080p and 5K, but even there it's like, like I don't notice the difference day to day when I'm doing things. Like even watching videos, I'll pull them on the screen and I don't really see much. It's not until I really start looking, and that's like a big difference between those two monitors. But
currently I've got a 4K monitor and then the 1440p monitor, and mind you, it's a minimal difference. You can definitely see it. Stuff's crispier on the 4K.
When you're looking, you can see it.
Yeah, if you're looking for it, you'll see it.
When I'm studying, just doing work. The biggest
difference for me, the big difference for me with the 4K monitors is you can just fit so much on them. If you got good eyes, you can fit 2 or 3 browsers onto one screen. Yeah, and it'll look like a 1080p monitor. When I was studying, it was the best thing I had, having 2 monitors, and you could just fit,
it's so great for productivity.
You could fit everything on just about one. It was if you're thinking productivity, I would definitely get advice investing in something like a high-res display. For gaming, no, don't do it. Most likely your computer will not be able to run it. Yes, I was going to get to that. If you're considering resolution or frame rate, you definitely got to go for frame rate. As a stat, absolutely have to go for frame rate.
Yeah, well, so do we have any tips and tricks for people looking to buy sort of secondhand products? Any tips and tricks for them?
Well, I suppose I don't have any tips for buying pre-owned products, but when you buy new products, just keep your eye out. There's so much out there. Don't get too overexcited with all the options, I guess.
I think for me, because I've done a fair bit of second-hand online shopping, it's really simple. Just a bit of common sense and a bit of research. Mm-hmm. If someone's not replying to you a lot, or if they seem a bit sketchy, maybe don't buy that one, that product. If it seems too good to be true, most of the time it is, but still go have a look anyway, because I've probably saved a few grand now from a few $1,000s from getting some really good deals. But yeah, just have a bit of that fifth sense or whatever in the back of your head. Keep your eye out would be my tip.
Yeah, I'd say as scary it is to go look at in person at things, because you are going to people's houses that you don't know and go with other people. You and a mate maybe go. Shipping items to you, especially if you're doing bank transfers and things like that, there is the possibility that they can, take your money and not send the item, especially on Marketplace. Sort of if you're using PayPal on eBay and on Gumtree and things, there are some of those features in place to sort of reinforce that. But yeah, definitely marketplace on Facebook is possibility to possibly not send the product, but yeah, going to see it in person, you can really see, and getting them to test it in front of you and showing that it works is a big part of that. But
Yeah, definitely
make sure it works.
yeah, on the spot. Yeah, definitely. But and look, that's the thing about buying secondhand. It's sort of your products might not be there that you're looking for, and sometimes it's just like if you need it now, buying it brand new might be the way. But
yeah, I suppose you got to be very patient.
Yeah, definitely.
When you're buying.
Yeah, well, might wrap it up there, boys. It's been good to talk to you, and thank you so much for coming on, Jono. It's been lovely.
Thanks very much for having me.
Good to speak to you.
Yeah, it was great being on. Thank you.
We'll have to get you on again sometime to talk tech.
Yeah, it'll be great. Too easy.
Yeah, for sure. All right, boys. Talk to you later.
Have a good one.
Yeah,
Catch you next week.
See you on the next Tech Tap podcast. Bye, guys.
Bye.